What is up, guys? Suda the Savage back, and after 17 weeks of predictions, whole lots of Saints recaps, we have finally made it. NFL 2020/2021 postseason predictions. This is a video I always look forward to, and it's just a big build-up. And for those of you who stuck around for all 17 weeks, and even if you joined during the later weeks, thank you all. We have made it this far, and of course, playoffs are expanded this year as there are 2 extra teams, 1 in each conference. So now only the 1 seed gets a bye. 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. And yeah, then the seedings works like how it usually does. So anyways, got a lot of predictions to get to. So without further ado, let's get this video started. Alright, so starting out with the first matchup on Super Wildcard Weekend. There's 6 wildcard matchups to get to. So starting out with the Buffalo Bills versus the Indianapolis Colts. Starting out with the Colts, they're the 7th seed, 11-5. So, to be honest, their season has been okay. It's been pretty good, you know. Barely fell short of the division because the Titans won it. Anyway, starting off, Phillip Rivers. As the quarterback, he's been decent, you know, throwing for 4,169 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 11 picks. The biggest guy, of course, on that offensive side is Jonathan Taylor. He's definitely the strength. As if he clicks, this Colts offense can't be stopped. He ran for 1,169 yards. Receiving was pretty spread out, you know, but the leader was, once again, T.Y. Hilton with 762 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season, followed by guys like Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman Jr., Naheem Hines, Mo Alley-Cox. They also got some other good running backs, especially Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins. Defensive players, big guys like Xavier Rhodes, Darius Leonard, so those guys are pretty good as well. So, to me, the strengths on this team definitely got to be Jonathan Taylor and the defense, kind of. But, of course, the liability is, of course, Phillip Rivers, you know. If he's playing well, then this Colts team does well. But if he's struggling, it can hold them back. And then the Bills, maybe the most improved team of the season. You know, starting out with Josh Allen. The guy did a complete 360 from last year. You know, last year he was inaccurate, relied a lot more on running the ball, so a lot had to be improved this season. Had a 69% completion percentage. MVP frontrunner, not going to win it because it's going to Aaron Rodgers. They're for 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 picks. The lead rusher was Devin Singletary, only with 687 yards, followed by Zach Moss with 41, and then Josh Allen. He ran for 421, was a lot less reliant on the ground game this year, which is a big game. But the biggest game for you guys was Stephon Diggs. You know, that trade with the Minnesota Vikings, it was able to favor both sides. Diggs had a historical season, 1,535 receiving yards. But you cannot forget about Cole Beasley. Even though he's in the shadows of Diggs, still is crazy. He had 967 yards, followed by guys like Gabriel Davis, John Brown, Dawson Knox, Isaiah McKenzie, Tyler Kroft. Other things I see with this team is that defense, it's pretty good. The front seven's decent, but the secondary is great. Guys like Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde. So yeah, strengths, this offense, and the defense is okay. That's a bit of a liability, you know. It's not as good as it was last year, but still pretty good. But yeah, no. Anyways, Bills are the hottest team right now, so I'm gonna take them over the Colts this week. And now you have our very next matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Starting off with the Rams, so you know, positives I gotta say, the offense is okay. I mean, Jared Goff's not exactly the best quarterback, most overrated quarterback in the NFL in my opinion. This year, he threw for 3,952 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 13 picks. He might not even be starting. It could be their backup, John Wolford, who was okay against the Cardinals in Week 17. The run game's all right. Guys like Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson Jr., and Malcolm Brown, they're a solid 3-way punch. But the receiving guys, they're your guys, like Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett. There's just a bunch of guys that, you know, they're good receivers, but I haven't even got to that defense. John Johnson, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and you know, you did lose a lot of pieces on defense this year, but at the same time, like, it's still as good as ever. Sean McVay's a great coach, but of course, this game's going to really lie on the offense, and you guys can also be kind of inconsistent. Either the defense plays well, or the offense sucks, or it's kind of like the opposite. I don't know. And then the Seahawks, you guys had a bit of an interesting season. So, beginning of the season, amazing offense, absolutely terrible defense in the second half. Not the greatest offense, but a very good and strong defense. But anyway, starting off with Russell Wilson, he was the MVP frontrunner for the first half of the season, but he's completely fallen off that. This year, he threw for 4,212 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 13 picks. The rush game you got is okay. Guys like Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, they're okay running backs. Russell Wilson, he can also tack on some rush yards. But receiving games where you got it, guys like Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, David Moore, Will Dissly, Greg Olsen, Jacob Hollister, they're all pretty good receivers. And, like I said earlier, the defense, slow start, but a strong finish. Guys like Bobby Wagner, Quandre Diggs, both Shaq Griffins, and Quentin Dunbar. So, yeah. And I can't forget Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams, he definitely turned his season around. He's been playing very well. But anyways, like I said, the Seahawks, that consistency could be a bit of a weakness. Same with the Rams. But, home field means everything right now, so give me the Seahawks this week. And now you have our very next matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Football Team. Starting out with the Bucs, a lot of big acquisitions. The biggest, of course, being Tom Brady. You also have that, a big weakness I see with you is that consistency. Although recently, you've been kicking ass. Tom Brady this year, he threw for 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 picks. Proven that with around a better offense, he can surge. The rush game is okay with guys like Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, and Keyshawn Vaughn. But it's really in the receiving game. You got maybe the greatest wide receiver trio right now. Guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. And don't forget about Scotty Miller. He does not get as much hype as he deserves. A lot more hype. We also got a pretty good tight end duo in Rob Gronkowski and O.J. Howard and even Cameron Brate. So that offense is a machine. The defense is pretty good, especially the front seven guys like Devin White, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh, and of course JPP. The secondary is also a bit of a weakness I see with you guys. So that could definitely hold you back if a pass-happy team faces you in the playoffs. And then the football team, the fact that you made the playoffs is not really deserved, but it's a miracle, especially for Alex Smith. You gotta give this dude respect. It's amazing that he even got to play again. You guys have had a quarterback carousel this year with guys like Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, Tyler Heineke, but Alex Smith, he's going to be the guy, hopefully. He threw for 1,500 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 picks. But you got a pretty good rushing game. Guys like Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, they're a pretty good 1-2 punch. Gibson's the pure rusher, and J.D. McKissick is the receiving back. You also got pretty good receiver in Terry McLaurin. He had 1,118 yards this season, but pretty good tight end with Logan Thomas. You got Chris Sims, Steve Sims, Isaiah Wright, and the offense, that's definitely the weakness because the quarterback, it's not that amazing, but that defense though is dirty, especially the front seven guys like Montez Sweat, Chase Young. You also got some good guys in the secondary like Kendall Fuller, and that's pretty much what I got. The defense is definitely what's going to take you to a victory. But against the Buccaneers, I just think that, the quarterback is what's going to hold you back. I like Alex Smith a lot, but I don't think he's going to take you to victory. So give me the Buccaneers in this one. Now you have our very next matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. A rematch of the 2019 AFC divisional round where the Tennessee Titans stunned the #1 seed Baltimore Ravens. So starting off with the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, even though the beginning of the season he wasn't really playing like his MVP form, but after the dump he took against the Browns, he's back. This year he threw for 2,757 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 picks. He did follow up with 1,000 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns with that. But where it's really at is, of course, that rushing game. That is the strength. Guys like J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Mark Ingram, they're 3 great backs that can support Lamar Jackson. If you're going to win, definitely the ground is going to be the biggest strength of yours. In terms of receiving, you got guys like Hollywood Brown, he's an okay receiver, Mark Andrews, Willie Snead, Miles Boykin, and of course, Des Bryant made a decent contribution later in the season. The defense, though, it's still pretty good. Guys like Patrick Queen, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, Calais Campbell. So, yeah, your defense is pretty good. The rush game is strong, but, of course, that passing game is, to me, the liability. Then the Tennessee Titans, great team. Ryan Tannehill does not get enough love. He is maybe the most underrated quarterback in the league. This year, he threw for 3,819 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. Derrick Henry, though. That's the asset. Derrick Henry and that offense. That's the biggest asset. Henry ran for 2,027 yards and 17 touchdowns. Just completely lit it up. But you also got some great receivers. Guys like A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Andy Frisker, Jonnu Smith, Adam Humphrey, Khalif Raymond. They're very good guys. And that's pretty much it for the offense. Like, that's strong. The defense has been a massive disappointment this year. So they cannot stop the run. They cannot stop the pass. If you're going to beat them, then, like, this defense just needs to step up. Like, many times this year, they've just been completely flat. But anyways, if I got to pick a winner for this one, you know what? Give me the Ravens. I'm going to say that they get revenge and beat the Tennessee Titans. And now you have our very next matchup between the Chicago Bears and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. Starting out with the Bears, you guys, it's been a weird season. You know, you started the season 5-1. I think you lost like 7 in a row, but somehow, some way, you stumbled into the playoffs. Not deserved, and definitely not the way you want to go. You got a bit of a quarterback carousel, but right now I'd say Mitch Trubisky is the guy, and that's not really a good thing. This year he threw for 2,055 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 picks, but slightly better than Nick Foles, in my opinion. But anyways, the asset, of course, is David Montgomery on the offense, because he's been carrying you around the end of the season. He ran for 1,070 yards and 8 touchdowns, but you got a pretty good receiving core. Guys like Allen Robinson, Darryl Mooney, Anthony Miller, Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, Cordell Patterson. They're all decent receivers, but Allen Robinson is the one who's out there. The defense is still very good. Guys like Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, you can't forget him. And the secondary is okay, so yeah. Anyways, that, of course, the assets, of course, is David Montgomery and the defense, but the liability is, of course, Trubisky. And then the Saints, don't break my heart like you did last year. Don't break my heart this year in the playoffs. I don't want to lose to a team that's 8-8. Drew Brees this year, he was okay, you know, not what he once was, but still produced 2,942 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. You know, we had that quarterback carousel, especially with him and Taysom Hill. The asset, of course, is that rushing game. Guys like Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray-Kamara, ran for 932 yards and 16 touchdowns. Murray's also a pretty good back. Ty Montgomery, he also proved against the Panthers that we're still good. Lead receiver this year was Alvin Kamara as well. But we also got guys like Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook, Traquan Smith, Michael Thomas. He did miss most of the season, but he is coming back for the playoffs. And we also got like Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, Adam Trautman. So we got some good weapons on offense. The liability, in my opinion, is the defense. Like, our front seven's great. Guys like Trey Hendrickson, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. The secondary is okay with like Malcolm Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore, Janoris Jenkins, Marcus Williams. It's the secondary I'm way more concerned about because, you know, the defense, either we're getting stops or we're getting burned or taking stupid penalties. But, you know, going up against the Bears, this better be an easy victory. But anyways, just give me the Saints in this one. Should be an easy W. And now you have our final matchup of Super Wildcard Weekend between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting out with the Browns, you finally made it back to the playoffs. You know, if I start out with Baker Mayfield, he's kind of, he can be an asset or a liability. The thing is, he's hot and cold. When he's hot, he's good. When he's cold, yikes, he holds his team back. This year, he threw for 3,563 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 picks. But the real asset is, of course, that running game. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the best 1-2 punch, combined for almost 2,000 rushing yards. So it's pretty good considering they're splitting the load most of the time. The receiving core is okay. Guys like Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Austin Hooper, Donovan People-Jones, and Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. They're all, like, decent receivers. That defense I'm really concerned about. I mean, the front seven is okay, especially guys like Larry Ogunjobi, Myles Garrett, Sheldon Richardson, but that secondary is, to me, the concerning point, as well as Baker Mayfield if he's cold. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, you start out the season 11-0, but completely fell apart at the end. You know, assets, that defense is still pretty good. The liability can be the offense. Big Ben, this year he threw for 3,803 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 10 picks. The biggest liability on offense is the rush game. Why don't you run the ball more? Your offense is so one-dimensional. Like James Conner, Benny Snell Jr., they're decent running backs. Give them some more attention. But you got some good receivers, guys like Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Eric Ebron, James Washington, and Vance McDonald. They're all pretty decent receivers. But like I said, that defense is where it's at. Minka Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Joe Hayden, Mike Hilton, and Steph Nelson. Like, there's a lot of guys on this defense that's very good. Something that is concerning for the Browns going into this match is that Kevin Stefanski has been ruled out with COVID, so he's not even going to be there to call plays unless they put him in a box where he can call plays. But it doesn't matter in the end. Give me the Steelers in this one, because that Browns secondary I just don't trust right now. And now we are moving on to divisional round. So, of course, we're starting out with the AFC. So, starting out with the highest seed versus the lowest seed, which in my predictions will be the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Baltimore Ravens. Starting out with the Chiefs, like, this team is amazing, especially the offense. Patrick Mahomes, this year he threw for 4,740 yards, 38 touchdowns, 6 picks. Sadly, though, he's not going to be winning MVP, as that's going right to Aaron Rodgers. But, you know, rushing game is okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell, they're okay running backs. But, of course, that receiving game is extremely dangerous. Guys like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Byron Pringle. This is just maybe the fastest receiving core in the NFL. So, like, Travis Kelce, he's the brute strength. Tyreek Hill, the small, fast guy. And McCole Hardman, well, he's just fast. The defense is okay. Like, the front seven is not too great. The secondary is okay. So, the defense is a little bit of a liability. I mean, you got guys like Daniel Sorensen, Anthony Hitchens, Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones, Frank Clark. So, like, the defense is a bit of a liability. And moving on, like I said about the Ravens before, they're basically just the run and the defense. And if they want a chance to win, they have to abuse that run game. Guys like Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Mark Ingram, even though it's going to be more focused around J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And, of course, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, and Willie Snead, and Miles Boykin, of course. They're okay receivers, but, like, the biggest question is, of course, can Lamar Jackson step up in the playoffs? Because he has that reputation as a playoff choker. He's 0-2 to start his playoff career. But, of course, right now, the Chiefs are just so damn good. Even though in recent games they've kept it close. There's two things that curses Lamar Jackson right now. Playoffs and the Chiefs will just completely silence the Ravens. Give me the Chiefs in this one. And now you have our other matchup from the AFC divisional round between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going to start out with Steelers on this one. Like I said before, the asset is, of course, that defense. Super strong defense. The liabilities, the offense, mainly because it's so goddamn one-dimensional. Going back on it, Ben Roethlisberger, he's, like, forced to throw the ball. He's thrown it, like, 600 times this year. Like, it's way too much. You don't use James Conner and Benny Snell Jr. enough. Of course, the receiving core is pretty good, like I said before, but can Juju Smith-Schuster, can he stay focused on the playoffs as opposed to doing his TikToks with his Corvettes, of course? Dancing on other teams' logos, of course. The Bills called that out. And, of course, the Bengals forced a brutal hit stick on him to kind of get his head back into place. But, yeah. That's what I got to say about the Steelers. And then the Bills, you know, after coming off a victory over the Colts, there's a lot to say about them. Like, the Bills, like I said, this offense is an absolute machine right now. Right now, they're the hottest team in football. No one can stop them. Especially, even though after they got their hearts broken after the Hail Murray, they have still continued to stay strong. Like I said, Allen has completely fixed himself. He is a quarterback, not a running back right now. The rush game on the offense does have me concerned. Like, the Bills, they don't use it enough. They should use it more. The receiving game, like I said, of course, is dirty. Guys like Diggs and Beasley. The defense has been kind of hot and cold this year. They started off kind of cold, but got it together at the end of the season. Like, they can be, like, kind of boom or bust. Most of the time, they're in that boom section. But when they bust, it's bad for the Bills. But anyways, this is a rematch the Bills and Steelers. Of course, the Bills won the first game this year, and they're going to win this one as they move on to the AFC Championship game, as they will face against the Chiefs. More on that later. And now you have our very first matchup of NFC Divisional Week between the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Starting out with the Packers, you got the MVP, Aaron Rodgers. There's no doubt about it at this point. Like, sure, I don't think he's going to be a unanimous MVP. Like, I know Allen, Mahomes, and Wilson are going to get some votes, but Rodgers should run away with this one. He threw for 4,299 yards, 48 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Aaron Jones has proved that he's also a pretty good running back. Ran for 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. But Devontae Adams, he's the man with 1,374 yards and 18 touchdowns this season. But other than that, the receiving core is kind of okay. Like, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Alan Lazard. Like, the thing about those two is that either they're cold or they're super hot. Like they're okay, like, in the short game, but they can be deep threats. But that consistency is kind of not there. Robert Tonyan, he's also a pretty good tight end. Definitely holds them up. The defense is okay. Like, Jair Alexander, he has been proving that he is a lockdown quarter. Adrian Amos, Rashawn Gary, like, Kenny Clark, they're okay. The defense is kind of, like, a bit of my concern because in the playoffs, they give up way too many points. I talked about this with one of my friends who's a Packers fan. Apparently, they gave up 36.7 points in all of Aaron Rodgers' playoff losses. So, defense in the playoffs is definitely a concern for the Packers. And going back to the Buccaneers, you know, after coming off a victory over the football team, they shouldn't have made it. But you beat a strong defense. You're coming into Lambeau, and it's the tundra. It's cold as hell. But Tom Brady, he's used to that. You know, playing in New England doesn't get nearly as cold as it does in Green Bay. But, you know, Tom Brady this year has proved, like, with a stronger offense, greater weapons, definitely a weaker head coach, but still a pretty good one. Of course, like I said, that offense is an absolute machine. The defense can be a bit of a liability, especially that secondary. And, of course, that consistency trait definitely has them a little bit screwed, but that consistency for them has been amazing to end the season. And even though the Packers would definitely be favorites to win the NFC, give me the Buccaneers in this one. I'm going to say that is the ultimate upset of the playoffs. Buccaneers over the Packers. Bucks move on to the NFC Championship game. And now you have our final matchup from Divisional Weekend between the Seattle Seahawks and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. Starting out with the Seahawks. Like I said before, your season has just been hot and cold. Or more like a tale of two seasons. Strong offense, terrible defense to start off, but then the offense got weak, but the defense got stronger. You know, Russell Wilson in the playoffs, he's pretty good. Usually got to carry the Seahawks to a victory. That rush game, of course, is a bit of a concern in my opinion because it's like Chris Carson is a pretty good running back, but are they going to use him enough, or are they going to kind of use Carlos Hyde more? That offensive line I haven't talked about yet, that can be also hot and cold. The receiving core, like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, a great 1-2 punch. Can DK step it up in the playoffs? Like, he did have an amazing rookie debut in the playoffs last year against the Eagles. Can he live up to that? And, of course, can the defense stay as strong as it's been to end the season? All that is going to be settled in the Superdome, like I said before. With the Saints, the offense is, to me, the asset, of course. Drew Brees, even though it's a short game for him, he's still proving, even though he's old, dealing with fractured ribs and collapsed lung, he still proves that he's got something. The rush attack still, of course, is strong. Guys like Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, and Taysom Hill, when he's in there, he can do some damage in the rush game. But of course, like I said before, in many of my Saints videos, especially the ones around the end, Taysom Hill is not really the best starting option, so of course give it to Drew Brees. And this game's obviously going to rely definitely around that receiving core on the offense because, you know, Michael Thomas, even though he's been dealing with leg issues this year, can he step it up in the playoffs, considering that he's been dealing with injuries all season? Kamara, can he stay as strong? Can other receivers step up? And, of course, can that defense clutch the fluff up? Because all of, like, the last 6 playoff losses for the Saints, a major theme in that was defensive collapses in the worst possible time. It's one-score games, and that defense collapses. But you know what? My prediction for this game is that the Seahawks are going to be cold on offense and on defense. Saints are going to roll to an easy victory and move on to the NFC Championship game. And now you have Championship Weekend, starting off with the NFC Championship game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. It's a matchup that the NFL would want. Brady versus Breeze, 2 of the greatest of all time, squaring it off in the NFC Championship game. Now, we've always wanted to see this as a Super Bowl. We've come close many times, but other than that, nah. Haven't got there quite yet. Starting out with the Buccaneers. So that hot and cold thing that I've been talking about, like I said, they've been super hot at the end of the season. Tom Brady, of course, like I keep saying this about him. He's in a stronger offense because, like, look who he had with the Patriots. James White, N'Keal Harry, Julian Edelman. Like, that doesn't quite live up to, like, a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. Like I said, yeah. That's pretty much it for the Buccaneers. And, of course, with that defense, like I said, front 7 is strong. Secondary is a bit of a liability. Moving on to the Saints, what hasn't been said? Like, I've been saying this about them all season, you know, but one thing that I haven't talked about yet is, you know, can they play consistently? Because, like, a lot of the times in the season, we're getting off to a slow start, but then we can usually pick up momentum as the game goes along. But we need to be playing strong if we want a chance to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The rush game's got to be strong for the Saints. The defense has to live up and just completely smother Tom Brady, make his life a living hell. We did that in our 2 matches against the Buccaneers this season. Tom Brady, that's the one team he's really struggled against. And, of course, Brady's going to struggle again as the Saints, they're going to win and move right on to the Super Bowl. And now you have our AFC Championship game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs taking place in Arrowhead Stadium. Yeah. So anyways, starting out with the Bills, like I've been saying, hottest team in football right now. Josh Allen, of course, playing at that MVP level. Of course, turning that season, or turning his career around, because, you know, like I said, you know, he could have possibly been gone from the Bills by the end of the season if he didn't step it up. He did step it up, so good job to him. But, of course, that rushing game is okay. The receiving game is strong. Diggs is just amazing, and the defense is pretty good. You know, like, 2019, their defense was elite. This season, their defense has taken a step back. Still pretty good. Nowhere near as good as it was. Then the Kansas City Chiefs, you know, of course, have maybe the greatest offense right now. Because, like, Patrick Mahomes, he can just literally go deep all the time. Because with guys like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, and Byron Pringle, it's a fast receiving core that you can just completely, that he can just throw to at will. The rush game definitely does have me concerned because if the passing game gets shut down, the rush game definitely isn't as strong, but Mahomes can scramble a little bit. And the defense, of course, is okay. Like, the secondary has been pretty good, and so is the front seven, but kind of inconsistent. Now, the thing is, here's the code to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. What you have to do is, of course, keep up with them on offense, and 2, whenever they make mistakes, you have to smother them. You have to score like there's no tomorrow. You have to keep on scoring. Like what the Texans did in the divisional round last year, except, I mean, they were way ahead of that Chiefs offense and smothered them on defense and smothered them after all their mistakes, but they let their foot off the gas. Against the Chiefs, what you do, build up a lead, but don't let that foot off the gas. And the thing about the Chiefs this year is that near the end of the season, they've been scraping by with victories. They've been close. Their offense has been kind of spotty. So you know what? Even though the Chiefs are maybe the best team in football right now, give me the Buffalo Bills. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they'll be going on to play the New Orleans Saints. On to the Super Bowl matchup. And now we have made it to my Super Bowl prediction between the Buffalo Bills and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. Man, this is going to be a tough matchup, especially for me, like, emotionally, because I got a lot of friends who are Bills fans. You know, beating them in the Super Bowl would be awesome, but, you know, losing them in the Super Bowl, and I'm absolutely screwed, because they're just going to kind of form a bubble around me and never let me hear the end of it. So, starting off, like, narratives for both these teams. Starting out with the Bills, you know, the main question for the season was, could Josh Allen step up, and could he play at an elite level and take the Bills to new heights? So far this season, he has proven that he can do it. Can he do it in the postseason? Who knows? But with my prediction, he can definitely do it. You know, would the Stephon Diggs trade pay off? 100% did, even though they lost a lot of draft picks. It was an equal trade for both sides. Minnesota got their receiver to replace Diggs, and Diggs, of course, is now on the #1 receiver on an offense that desperately needed one. You know, the defense, like I said, has been pretty good. But definitely not elite like they were last year. And then, of course, the Saints. The narrative for this season was, could Drew Brees do it again? Could Drew Brees still stay strong despite aging? Could the Saints maybe make it? Could they maybe win a Super Bowl without completely blowing in the playoffs? So far, if my predictions all go according to plan, that'll all be true. Like, this season is our last chance. Because this is most likely Brees' last season. Cap hell's coming our way. We're about $90 million in the red. So a lot of heads are gonna roll. But, you know, that's definitely going to be a tough thing for the Saints to face. Of course, the offense is strong. It's a great offense. The defense, of course, can be a bit of a liability. Like, the front seven, it's great, but that secondary is definitely leaky. Like, at times, like, either they're shutting people down or they're taking stupid penalties or getting completely burned. So, the Super Bowl matchup is interesting. You know, the young, hungry Bills who are starting off with a fresh, open window, and right now, in their face of the Saints, whose window is about to shut, because this is our last chance to win it all. You know, when it comes down to it, I think the Saints are going to win this one. I think Drew Brees, with his experience, and, you know, the Saints with more experience in the playoffs in recent times over the Bills, I think that could definitely become a factor. Give me the Saints in the Super Bowl, and, of course, Drew Brees will be the Super Bowl MVP because, you know, it's kind of tough to not be a quarterback and win Super Bowl MVP. It's not done that often. So, of course, give me the Saints and Drew Brees winning Super Bowl. Brees goes out on top with that Vince Lombardi trophy. Be like Super Bowl 50. It's going to be the way it's going to be. Give me the Saints. We're winning the Super Bowl. Before I go to the outro, just a quick recap of the predictions I made. So, for Wild Card Weekend, I got the Bills over the Colts, Seahawks over the Rams, Buccaneers over the football team, and on the other side, I got the Ravens over the Titans, Saints over the Bears, and the Steelers over the Browns. And then in the divisional week, I got Bills over Steelers, Chiefs over Ravens, Saints over Seahawks, and Buccaneers over Packers. And then championship weekend, Bills over Chiefs, Saints over Bucks, and of course the Super Bowl, Saints over Bills. We get that Vince Lombardi trophy. Onto the outro. That is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to see all of my other prediction videos and all my other Saints recaps, links to all that will be in the description below. Make sure you drop a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Comment down below who you got as your Super Bowl winner. What do you have as like your upset of the playoffs? Of course, comment down below what you got for your postseason predictions. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok at Brendan Suter. I kind of just changed it up because I kind of want to change my identity. I kind of lived off Suter the Savage for a while. I just want to be Brendan Suter, kind of be who I am and not be behind that Suter the Savage identity. I might change the YouTube channel name, but other than that, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Let's go Saints going into the Super Bowl, and who dat nation, I am out.